Hi, I'm Dave Cook, and I wrote this book, Leading from the Foundation Up, with my doctoral supervisor, Shane Parker. And I wrote it to be the book that I needed about 10 years prior, but couldn't find, which was that good first book to read about leadership. I was in pastoral ministry and had been there long enough to realize that if I was going to be of any use to the Lord, I was going to have to develop some leadership skills. So I was starting to read leadership books, and a lot of them were really good, but I just couldn't find that first book that would just teach me, what is this leadership thing? What makes a good leader? And most importantly, what does the Lord want from me as a leader? How do I tell a good leader from a bad one? Surely it's not whoever winds up the most dominant or whoever develops the biggest following. And it's probably not ultimately even whoever's organization flourishes the most. How could I be confident that I was leading in the way that the Lord wanted me to, and that He was pleased with what I was doing? Well, that question bothered me enough that I actually went back to school to study it. I enrolled in a doctoral program in leadership. That's where I met Shane, my advisor, and I dedicated 2 years to answering that very question. What makes a good, God-pleasing leader? And what I found was good news and bad news. Good news, there really is actually one characteristic that it all boils down to. You just grow in this one characteristic and the rest will follow. The bad news is it is a lost virtue in Western society. The core of good leadership is the fear of the Lord, a glad, humble, awe-filled reverence before the God of the Bible. Time and time again in the scriptures, when leaders are installed or when they are evaluated, they are told, fear God. When kings are put on the throne, Deuteronomy 17 says, first thing you got to learn, new king, is to fear the Lord your God. When Jehoshaphat appoints judges, he tells them, fear the Lord. When Moses' father-in-law, Jethro, tells him to look for advisors and judges in the people of Israel, he says, look for capable men who fear God and hate a bribe. Over and over again, we're told a good leader is a leader that fears God. Not only that, but there's a mountain of secular research out there where we're trying to figure out what makes a good leader. And all of the qualities that we can kind of all agree make a good leader, they come down really to three things: integrity, wisdom, and zeal. People want to follow a good person who knows what they're doing and believes in what they're doing. And all three of those qualities, the scriptures say, are grounded in the fear of God. What's the core of a good moral life, a life of integrity? It's the fear of God, that sense that He is always watching you and you are accountable to Him, even when you lead and appear accountable to no one. What's the biblical foundation of wisdom? The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, said around a dozen times in the wisdom literature. And then all of those biblical characters that we celebrate for their zeal, Paul, Peter, Moses, Joshua, David, all of them, you can trace their passion back to profound moments in their life when they were filled with the fear of God. So not only is the fear of God what He expects of leaders, it is the way that He develops ordinary people like me and you into good, capable leaders. So if you are a pastor who is mentoring or developing young leaders, if you're a young leader yourself who's trying to answer some of those basic questions, what am I doing here? What does the Lord want from me? If you're in any role that develops young leaders, this book was written just for you, and I pray that the Lord uses it with great power in your life.